Nathan Tusher, and I wanted to show you a new feature that we've added to Applos-NCA, and it's the ability to analyze data from multiple routes of administration in a single analysis. So it doesn't happen all the time, but there could be times where you have, for example, an absolute bioavailability study where you administer via IV, and then you administer via an oral route or a subcutaneous route. And so now you have two sets of data that has to be analyzed. And in most desktop software, the solution is going to be to split the data up and analyze just the IV data, and then just analyze the extravascular data, and then you combine the results together. But with Applos-NCA, you don't need to do that. You can run it in one analysis. So let me show you this example, and this one's actually even more complex than you might construct. Is in this we have one subject, so on day one they got the extravascular route and it was a single dose, and here's their concentration time data. And then on day 7 they had an iv-bolus dose, and then there's 24 hours of PK sampling after that. But subject 2, if you notice, subject 2 also had excuse me, I scrolled up a little too far. Subject 2 had an IV bolus on day 1, and then their extravascular was on day 7. So you can see we've randomized the subjects or animals, whatever it was in this case, that they might receive IV on day 1 or day 7 so that we could actually see if there was any kind of period effect or anything. So we're going to go ahead and upload this data, and then we're going to analyze it. So we'll go ahead and upload the data. This is going to use encryption and upload it to your account on Applos-NCA, and then it's going to stamp your file with a unique file ID, and then it'll be ready for configuration of the analysis. All of the data was single dose, so we can leave the frequency as is, but we know that the type of dose differs based on the study day. So we're going to actually say we're going to use a data column, and that data column was route. And so remember, in route it said EV IV-bolus. So this is going to specify the route for that dose. In addition, we know that the dose was different for the different routes of administration. So we have a column named dose where we can get that. And again, the rate, duration, tau, that's by default displayed because we don't know if you have an IV infusion or not. So it's available. It's not going to be used. It'll be ignored by Applos-NCA because it says, oh, you're extravascular. And it's single dose. I don't need rate. I don't need tau. I don't need duration. So it's just easier to allow you to update these, but you can leave them as is. They're not going to be used. So now we come down to the columns. So we're going to put the subject column in there, and the time column, and the observed concentration, which includes all the BLQ designations, and then the analyzed concentrations in which we've manipulated that. Now we need some grouping. So one of the groupings that we need is route, but we also need to group by day because they got different doses on different days. So I want that in the outputs as well. So we'll go ahead and do that. And then we can go ahead and we can execute this. If you want to look at the configuration, this is the text configuration that's being generated by this user interface. So if you want to analyze it using R or Python or another method, you can create this configuration text file yourself, or you can even do a manual override where you go in and you edit it. We don't need to make any changes, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to execute this. So I had 10 subjects in this data set that each receive both IV and extravascular doses of the compound, and it's going to go ahead and calculate those parameters. This will probably take us a clock time of about 90 seconds, maybe a little bit longer than that. The actual computation time up on the server is going to be roughly 30 seconds or so, and then we can look at the results. All right, the results are ready, so we'll go ahead and we'll download those, and then I can review them with you. So in those results, you're going to get your inputs, which is your data file that did the analysis, and then the configuration for your QC. And then in your outputs, the first one I'll show is the PK listing. And so we see here for subject 1, they have the extravascular route of administration on day 1, and you have all the parameters associated with that. And then if we scroll down, we'll see day 7, and you'll see the parameters associated with the iv-bolus. So you see here, AUC all linear C0. That is a parameter that is only calculated for iv-bolus administration. And so in one analysis, we've done both. And now keep scrolling down, and we can see the second subject. And the second subject is there for extravascular, and then they have their iv-bolus on day 1, and we continue on. So all 10 subjects. So you can see one data output file has all the parameters from both extravascular and iv-bolus in the same run. We also have summaries. So you can see here's a summary on day 1, but that's not very useful because some had IV, some had extravascular. So what we might want is, I want a summary of all the extravascular. So PK summary EV shows me here's the 10 subjects, here's their AUC mean and standard deviation for just extravascular. So there's the mean data for that one. And if I wanted just iv-bolus, I can come down here, PK summary iv-bolus, and there it is. There's the iv-bolus. And so same thing with the plots. It's going to create unique plots for you, and you can look at the summaries as well. So let's see, summaries for summaries with individuals, linear extravascular. So there's the mean profile with all the individuals for extravascular. And if we do summary individual linear, I think I need iv-bolus. I'll do it. This one's on semi-log. It's fine. But here is all the IV arms. So the mean for the IV with the individuals. So all the mean plots are there for you, and they're all included in that technical report as well. And that is an example of how you can analyze. Normally, you're going to have to, with all other software, you're going to have to separate this into 2 separate analyses and try to merge them back together. With Applos NCA, it's one analysis. Just up front, to specify what the route of administration is in your data, and then you can go ahead and you can analyze it.